So our first exercise is called Tai Chi pouring, swinging, and drumming. But before we actually start moving, let's just take a few moments to take stock of our body, feel how our feet meet the ground, be aware of our posture, how our head sits on our shoulders, and be aware of how we're breathing. And then we begin the Tai Chi pouring by bending one ankle and knee slightly and just letting the weight shift or pour in that direction. And then as we bend the opposite ankle and knee, the weight shifts and pours. And we find this comfortable pattern of rocking back and forth. And the goal isn't to emphasize the physical shifting and the activity, but to use the movement to feel the body. So pay attention to the soles of the feet at first, and then the sensations you feel as your feet are being massaged on the floor. And it's helpful sometimes to remind ourselves that we're made of liquid, 70% liquid, and that inner ocean helps us feel our feet being bathed, lubricated, rehydrated, massaged. So this pouring of our inner ocean through our body. And as our feet wake up, the arches, the heels, the toes, we start to grow the awareness of the body through the ankles, the calves, the shins, the knees, all the way up through your hips, groin, and abdomen. Just rocking, pouring, feeling the parts, but also their connectivity, their connections. We start to feel these movements throughout the torso, the spine, the chest, the shoulders, all the way out to the arms and the head. Just rocking, breathing comfortably, not in a rush to get to the other side, but feeling the transitions throughout the whole body. And once we're comfortable with the pouring, we start to add the Tai Chi swinging. So to begin with, we shift to one side, bear our weight there comfortably without straining our knee, and we turn our weight in the same turn our body in the same direction we're bearing weight. Then we let the foot rest, shift, turn, and drop the other knee. And we continue to swing from side to side, letting one knee hang, keeping the body upright, and just swinging comfortably, loosely, letting these sensations and waves move through our whole body, helping us connect and feel. The head sits very comfortably on top. The arms swing naturally. And after a few minutes of swinging, we add a little bit of the Tai Chi drumming. So the swinging arm naturally comes back to the body, and we begin by tapping in the upper corners of the torso. And as we tap, we make little vibrations and sound, which sort of wake up and stimulate the body, like a self-massage. Hands just bouncing off. We move the drumming down beneath the breasts to the ribs. And then we let the drumming go further down to the sides of the abdomen. As we do the swinging and drumming, we continue to feel the feet on the ground to stay grounded, the connections through the whole body, and half of you resting in each cycle, really letting that knee relax when it's not bearing weight. We move back up to the midline, the breastbone. Little taps, little vibrations. We move down the midline to the solar plexus. And further down to the navel. And then beneath the navel to the lower abdomen. We then add the lower back, and we do the navel and the lower back behind the navel together, roughly around your kidney area. And then finally your lower abdomen and your tailbone. And then we let things come to rest, resting in the center. If you're comfortable, you can close your eyes for a few moments and just take a few breaths and feel your whole body. Feel the sensations you've generated by swinging and drumming. So this next exercise is called swinging to integrate the body. And we begin by simply exercising the arms. We bring them up to a comfortable height without straining the shoulders. And as we release them to gravity, there's a slight flex of the ankles and knees, just a little drop. And we do that a few times just to loosen up the shoulders and connect and integrate the upper and lower body. After a couple cycles of that, to the extent that it's comfortable for your body, we're going to just enhance that with a little stretch. So as the hands come up above your head, feel a nice stretch from the tops of your toes, through your legs, all the way up through the fabric of your body to your fingertips, and then a release. And then we do that a few times, just finding a nice rhythm. Be careful not to strain your shoulders, to not compromise your balance. You feel very connected to the ground. And the goal is to feel the connections from your legs, through your torso, to your arms and head, not just through the front of your body, but you also feel the back, gently stretching, releasing, stretching, releasing. And superimposed on this body awareness and movement is the breath, comfortable breathing rhythm. So if you can breathe into the fabric of your body and release any tension with each exhale. And then you can let the arms come to rest as you complete this move. Let them rest at your side. And again, just take a few breaths and notice the sensations in your body. So this next movement is called hip circles, and it's a very simple movement. We begin by keeping the feet still and just making a little circle with our hips or waist, as if we're scribing a circle over the floor with our hips or our clock face. And like our prior movements, the goal with these movements aren't to force or push to the extremity or to rush around the circle, but much more to feel. So one way to tune into that principle is to notice, if you were scribing a clock face over the floor, how many 5-minute points do you feel as you pass through them? And it doesn't matter, you're not forcing, but you're just noticing. So the movement brings our attention into our body. How many 1-minute points do you pass through? And then once your attention is focused on a certain part of your body, you can change the quality of that attention, the valence, by maybe reminding yourself that you're made of liquid, 70% of that nourishing juice, and maybe that can start to seep into all the tissues and rehydrate them and lubricate them and make things a little juicier and smoother as you move. And then finally, as you're focusing on one place, we don't want to lose the whole. So we feel the impacts of these small movements through our legs all the way down to our feet, and through the torso all the way up through the neck and shoulders and arms. Being aware of how we breathe throughout, just finding a comfortable meditation in motion. And then we pause, and then curiously we go the other way. Again, the goal isn't to rush or accomplish anything, but to feel. So feel the circles you're scribing. Feel how this movement helps you feel the connections down to your feet, up to your head, and how this mindful movement is a great place to practice mindful breathing. And then as you begin to finish this circle, you sort of spiral into the center. You take a moment to just rest, take a few breaths, and notice the sensations in your body. So this next exercise is called spiraling the lower extremities. And we begin by shifting our weight to one side and comfortably bending the knee and letting the other toe be a pivot point. And with that pivot, we move the opposite knee over the floor in a circular pattern, similar to spiraling the waist or the hips. And again, we're using this movement to draw our attention into the body parts that are moving. So as your knee makes a circle over the floor and bends and unbends, bring your attention to the kneecap, to the area behind the knee, all the ligaments and tendons, and give them the opportunity to be loosened up and gently stretched, and to let that inner ocean bathe and lubricate and rehydrate all those tissues, bring awareness. As your knee moves, you're also articulating the ankle joint and the foot bones and the bones of your shin. So feel the connections all the way from your knee down to your foot. And at the same time, your upper leg bone is articulating in your hip socket. So you can start to feel your hip loosening up, the tailbone. And while all this is happening, you're also appreciating the support of the static leg and trying to feel stable without over-bracing your supporting side. And of course, you're aware of your breathing, letting your head be comfortable as it rests on your shoulders. Good. Then we begin to let that rest, place the foot flat, and then we pour the weight to the opposite side, and we do the mirror image move. The toes a pivot, there's a gentle circle over the floor with your kneecap, and it almost becomes a formula. You start moving a part of your body, and your mind is drawn into there, almost like a magnet. And once you're in that area, you have attention. You can start to fold in a little intention, a little kindness to give back to your knee, a little softening, a little allowing of the juice to go deeper, and to feel the parts start to integrate and work more as a whole. Knee, calf, ankle, foot, all the way up to your hip socket. And then we let that foot come to rest. We move our weight back to the center. And we take a few moments to feel how the legs have opened, the sensations in the legs and the rest of your body. Take a breath or two to rest. This next exercise is called spinal cord breathing. And in all the exercises, we're very careful not to force or strain things. We never go past 70% effort. But when we work with the spine, we're even more conservative. So we maybe go to 50% of our stretching range of motion. So we begin with the hands up, palms facing forward, sitting in the inguinal fold, just resting into the pelvis, knees slightly bent. And we bring the elbows and wrists forward and slightly tuck the chin. And importantly, we keep the body upright, so we're not leaning forward. And in this rounded shape, the spaces between our vertebrae gently stretch open. Then as we reverse the movement, staying connected to the ground, the elbows go slightly back, the palms open, the fingertips extend. We lift the chin ever so slightly, but we feel a lengthening through the whole front of the body. And then we go back and forth at a rhythm that suits us. Just sitting, stretching gently through the spine, and then opening up, lengthening through the front of the body and the hands. And we repeat that a few times at a pace that feels good for you. You may want to make bigger movements or smaller movements, to go faster or slower. Most importantly, you feel safe. You don't feel like you're creating any strain or fear in the spine. You can fold a little breathing into this movement. You don't have to force any rhythm. And you're always staying connected to the ground, feeling your feet on the floor. As you complete this next cycle and hit the bottom position, you pause for a moment. You let your arms come to rest and you slowly roll up through your spine so your shoulders are over your hips at the end and your head floats on top of your spine. You feel your feet on the ground. And you take a few breaths and notice the sensations in your body. This next exercise is called stretching the hands and arms. And we begin by making some very gentle fists and making circles to articulate the wrists. And as with our other movements, the goal isn't just physical, but we're using the movement to draw our attention into these body parts. So feel all the little bones in your wrists and your hands and your forearms gently being awakened and inviting that warm tropical ocean to seep into all those tissues. While you're doing this very simple phrase, it's a good way to practice feeling your whole body, your feet on the ground, your neck's comfortable, you're breathing comfortably. And then we pause and we reverse the directions. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to create too much strain. Just enough to stretch, but also be able to relax. We then let the circles rest, and we open up the palms facing upwards. And we stretch each of the fingers. And exactly how you do it isn't too important, but there's a gentle stretch. And the goal is to extend all of the knuckles, ligaments, and tendons just enough so that it brings your attention into the palm, and then you deeply relax. And you repeat this cycle. Stretching, feeling the webbing open, finding new places in your fingers, wrists, palms, in each cycle. New places to feel and awaken, and to reintegrate with the rest of your hand. Good. So this pulsing is like Tai Chi yin-yang pulsing. There's a doing, a stretching, and then a yin, allowing and resting. A stretching, a doing, not too much, and then a deep resting. We do one more cycle. Feel your whole body while this is going on. Feel your breathing. Enjoy waking up your hands, and then just let them come to rest at your side. Take a few breaths and just notice the sensations. This next very simple movement integrates a little bit of breathing and shoulder movement to help relax the upper body, and what the Chinese call sung or sinking. It's the opposite of being held up and tight in the body. It's just to drop your center of gravity. So we very gently and slowly raise our shoulders to the ears, and it's as if we can breathe into the shoulders. And then as we release the shoulders, we release the breath, and there's a sense of melting any tension in the neck, the face, the shoulders, all the way down through the chest, arms, and fingers, all the way down through your legs, as if you have roots that go into the ground like a tree. And so we slowly breathe in from the bottom all the way up to the shoulders, raise them, squeeze them just a little bit. And then we relax and release like a wave of melting, face, chest, back muscles, hips, arms, knees, feet, all the way down to the ground. And we repeat this a few times. There's no reason to force a rhythm with the breath. So you can breathe at whatever pace you want. Take intermediate breaths in between. Breathing as if you can breathe from under your feet all the way up through your body. And relaxing all the way down. Each time getting a little bit less held up and tight in the body. And importantly, as we release, we don't feel like we relax so much that we turn into a puddle on the ground. But when we release the tension in our shoulders, there's almost some room for levity. So the spine feels like it floats, the body feels a little bigger. There's a lightness in this letting go. One last cycle. Breathing in, finding new places on each breath cycle to touch and then to release. And then we just rest at the bottom, take a couple comfortable breaths, and notice the sensations throughout the body. This next movement's called the dragon wags its tail, and it emphasizes the stretching and lengthening of the flanks of the body. So we begin by bringing the palms together at a comfortable distance from your body. And as our thumbs and head arc in one direction, our attention is drawn a little bit more to the opposite flank, from the ankle to the knee, through the sides of your thighs, ribs, all the way up to your ears and out your arms to your fingers. And you feel a stretch through that body fabric. You relax that stretch, come back to the center, deep resting place. And then as you arc to the other side, your attention goes to the opposite ankle, knee, hip, ribs, all the way up to the fingertips and ears. And in a way that's comfortable for you and at your own pace, you go back and forth. Again, the goal isn't to stretch as far as possible. In fact, doing a little less might create a little less fear in the body and a curiosity of finding new places. But you may want to go a little slower, a little faster, a little bigger, a little smaller. You adapt this to what feels right. And you know you're moving in the right direction because you start to feel more parts of that whole pathway from your ankle all the way up the sides of your body to your arms. becoming a little bit more integrated, a little bit more whole. And so you continue with this yin-yang stretching, a little doing, a little resting in between, a little bit of doing, and a little resting in between. And we do one more full cycle. And this time, as you come back to the center, you come to rest, you allow your arms to fall to your side, and you take a few breaths and just sense the sensations throughout your body. So this next movement is called the fountain, and we begin by just gently bending the ankles and knees, crossing the wrists on the midline. And as the ankles open, as the knees open, as the hips and spine open, the arms come up, and there's a gentle stretch all the way out to the fingertips. And then we release that stretch and let the palms fall to the side. Relax the legs. Ankles and knees bend, wrists cross on your midline, and it's a whole body stretch, almost like a little baby waking up in the crib and just intuitively stretching from the toes to the fingers, and then letting everything come back to rest. And we do this a few times. Again, we're not so concerned about getting a lot of reps in or making it as big and fast as possible, but using the movement to feel our parts and how they do or don't connect, to gently stretch them and release them. So in these next couple cycles, just be aware, sometimes we feel the front of the body or the back more than the other side. So feel both the front and back being stretched and being relaxed. Be aware of feeling the right side and the left side as much as possible. And more subtly, be aware not just of the surface, but all the core tissues in your body gently being expanded, stretched, connected, and released. And finally, as you do this last cycle, be aware of how you breathe throughout and how comfortable you can let your head be throughout the whole cycle. As your hands come down to a place of rest, take a few breaths and just be aware of the sensations throughout your whole body. This next exercise is called washing yourself with healing energy from nature. And the hands are simply going to float around to your sides effortlessly, as if they can reach up into the sky, into these clouds of healing, light-filled mist. And as they descend, you draw these clouds not only over the outside of your body, your face, your neck, your shoulders and back, but you invite this cloud to penetrate every blood cell, muscle, bone, nerve, and organ in your body. Just washing this pleasant energy through every cell, down through your legs, all the way to the roots, to the ground. Your hands simply circle up. And each time you let this go a little deeper into the face muscles, into the neck muscles, but also into every blood cell, muscle, bone, nerve, and organ. You can breathe this into your body. And simultaneous with this infusion of supportive, optimistic, healing energy is this invitation to trawl or filter any tiredness or tension in your body, almost like a French coffee press where the grains go down through your belly, through your back, through your legs, all the way into the earth. They get recycled. So 2 or 3 more cycles, bringing in a little supportive, deeply relaxing energy into every cell, front and back of your body, as well as the middle. All the way down, in each cycle, connecting down to your roots. And one more complete cycle. Feel how you're breathing. Keep the neck comfortable. The more we relax, the deeper this wave goes through our legs, feet, all the way down to the ground. And then we rest, take a few breaths, and observe the sensations in our body.